All right, so current state of the question, how did I move through this? First thing I learned, the early discovery, I noticed that God's presence had been in my situation and I hadn't noticed it. And the big way I realized this was seeing how some of the stories in the New Testament where God had warned his servants that if they did this or that or something bad was coming up and maybe they needed to go through it, but they were warned. And he didn't always do that, but I thought to myself, actually that is something that happened in that situation that I remember, and I kind of overlooked it. So that was interesting. And then the second thing was recognizing something that I had completely overlooked. I had looked at that situation in the past as this horrible tragedy, that no good had come from it. It had just been this tremendous scar on my life. And I didn't ever give myself the credit or acknowledge the things, the strengths of character that actually just revealed themselves when I went through that. And almost like a box of, like an alabaster box, and it has perfume inside, but you can't open the box. You actually have to break it open, and I thought, well, what happened? What came out when I was broken open? And certain beauty came out, and I had never been able to actually look at it and acknowledge that even back then there were things that I value still that were already in place. All right, when I went through Lent and I tried to unearth some of the uses of suffering, or why God permits suffering according to the story of the Bible, I discovered a bunch of different things, but what was important was how I was able to respond to it. Instead of feeling triggered, I found that I had made some emotional progress. I was able to look at my situation and actually be able to say, okay, I suffered innocently here. But could I have triggered this level of suffering for someone else through my own immaturity, through my own carelessness? I was invited to ask that question, and I was able to do it and to explore that possibility without terrible triggering and pain. So that was kind of a milestone for me. Then there's the study of betrayal. This is at the very end. It's kind of big picture study of the exact emotional wound through the stories of Job and Esther. And I appreciated, in the first place, recognizing the great significance of human life and human integrity in the cosmic order. So it mattered what Job, the individual, did. And it mattered what Esther did as a person. The profound importance of the choices that individuals make. Secondly, I appreciated how nature reflects God's wisdom in giving certain gifts to certain creatures, maybe withholding others, but the goodness of that in his desire to really glorify that creature and highlight what is so special about them. This was a little bit difficult, but without pinning it to a certain current event or anything at all, or historical event that was terrible and devastating. I was at least able to entertain the concept of God as this divine judge who is the master over the forces of destruction. And what I mean by that is they aren't overwhelming. They have to obey him. So it's not like he is rejoicing when people or animals or nature of other types suffers, but he sets a limit. He will not let things go beyond a certain limit. He's also going to defeat that darkness. He's going to turn it on itself and force it to produce goodness in life. So if I can think about that as a big abstract concept, I was able to entertain that idea. And then I really appreciated the personality of this divine judge. It wasn't this impersonal cosmic force When Esther risked her life and threw her body in between genocide and God's people, when she did that, it moved heaven, and divine justice reversed the situation and swept away the evil and saved life and gave her agency and a legacy.